As you guys know, I always love to discuss the natural selection pressures that face individual populations of organisms, or at this point in the class, we can also talk about how it affects whole communities of organisms. One of the main factors that contributes to the natural selection pressure of prairie communities as opposed to forest communities has to do with climatic patterns. So the prairie tends to have lower levels of precipitation than the eastern temperate forest, and also tends to have higher extremes in winter and summer temperatures. Now, we didn't cover the plant chapter in our book, but if we had, and you guys can kind of remember this from a little bit of what we talked about with photosynthesis, water is a very important part of photosynthesis. It provides the replacement electrons that are used in the light reactions when sunlight excites the electrons in the chlorophyll molecule. So water is a very important part of photosynthesis. With lower levels of annual precipitation, prairie plants have to be more competitive to access the water that is present in the prairie community. One of the reasons that grasses and forbs tend to be more dominant in prairie communities is because of that lack of water. All right, so woody plants like trees tend to require a lot larger volumes of water. All right, and so we can kind of see right here, I've been panning back and forth. This is an area of Springbrook Prairie where there's kind of a little lowland ditch, all right, and a small stream in front of us. You can see these are the areas where the trees tend to form. So as settlers were moving across the prairie and as Native Americans lived on the prairie, one of the things that helped alert them to the presence of water was a community of trees, a smaller forest community within that larger prairie community. As I pan to the more upland areas, you can see the density of trees kind of reduces a little bit. And again, that has a lot to do with water availability. So woody trees on the whole usually require a lot more water than the grasses and forbs that dominate the prairie. Plants also have a hard time with those extremes in temperatures, very cold winters, very hot summers. One of the ways that prairie plants have adapted to all three of those factors, the lower precipitation, the higher extremes in temperature, is by having very, very deep root systems. And we're going to talk about those very, very deep root systems here in a minute. But very deep root systems are one of the hallmark characteristics of many populations of prairie plants, be them grasses or forbs. Prairie plants tend to have much deeper, much more diffuse networks of root systems that allow them to survive the harsh natural selection pressures of relatively low precipitation and relatively extreme temperature ranges.